Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Joanne. I'm a mum of 3 children and I home educate those 3 children here in the UK. Following on from my last video in which I showed you our homeschool space, I realised that there was a big thing that I'd missed out, which is our book basket. Our book basket is a huge part of our homeschool because it's where I keep everything for symposium time. Sometimes I do symposium time during the day, and sometimes, like this week, I do it at night time as like an extended bedtime reading session, but with some memory work and some very purposeful reading in there. This week, like I say, we're doing that, and that's why this book basket is actually upstairs and not downstairs at the moment, and so I will quickly show you through it. I have a video called, I think it was our group subjects, because it's like something we do as a family. So I will put a link here if you want to see what was in that basket about 6 months ago, but that has probably changed since. It changes all the time because it just depends what memory work we are working on, like what curriculums we're using and what books we're reading. I'll quickly show you through. So this is the book we've been reading a lot over the past week. I'm just going to pop this basket down here. These are the flashcards we are using at the moment. I've paused the mental arithmetic program and I'm just going through these. Excuse the cover. I think these were from the range. They just help to review times tables that we've already been through a few times, but just to make sure that we are sketched with those. I have our grammar cards in here, so they have like different examples of different parts of speech and definitions of different parts of speech on them. I have one set for my sons, and I have some for my daughter, which are just like really small things to work on, days of the week, seasons, things like that. Our address and phone numbers of both parents. Those are things my boys memorised when they were about her age. And then inside the basket, I have a load of other books. Most nights I read either a short story or a picture book to my daughter, so I've got some favourites here. She recently asked me to read this one. This came with a puzzle. So we read that one. We've read this one quite a few times. This is a library book that she likes at the moment. We also really love this book and this one. She also has a Telling the Time book in here that she likes. It's been scribbled on by my boys. I got it from a charity shop years ago, but I have that in there with this clock instead, and then she is learning time on the hour at the moment. She's quite good with that, so she just moves the hands around to show the time that it is on each page. And I also have this My Little Quran Verses book, which was in the original book basket this year. This is a great one. We don't do it routinely, but just whenever I fancy to pick it up. And it has a lovely verse and a little story that teaches a moral related to that Quran verse. Other books we have in here, so we have like the overtly schooly books, things like the mental arithmetic book that we go through sometimes, music theory book. What else do we have that's overtly schooly? Our Islamic studies book. And I guess this isn't very schooly, but this is a book that sometimes my middle son will use during read aloud time because he enjoys doing them. And the last few nights, instead of picture books, my daughter's been asking me to read short stories from here. This copy is so old. It was my dad's when he was a little boy. It was printed in the 1950s, I think, but my kids love these. I introduced my boys to these when they were, again, I think they were like 6 and 4, and now my daughter is 5 and she's getting into them too. I think there's like 12 or 13 chapters in each one. We have another one too, and they're just short stories that all stand on their own, but the kids love them. And then I have books that I haven't been using this week, but we use this one on and off. This is like nature study. We've been reading through this book. It's really good. And I want to start this book about the Irish famine soon. I haven't started it yet because we're doing the Alexander Graham Bell book, but I'll get there soon, inshallah. And we are listening to Harry Potter, the Half-Blood Prince on audiobook at the moment. So that's the 6th Harry Potter book. I do have the 6th Harry Potter book in the house, but I'm not reading it, so it's not in my basket. And then I did start with this book. We've already read The Secret Mountain. Now we're reading The Secret of Killymoon. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I started on the first chapter, and then my middle son said, oh, can we reread 5 Children in It, which we've already read twice before, but I was like, yeah, we can read that instead if you like. The chapters in here are quite long, so I'll probably just read half a chapter a night, but I need to ask the boys which one they like. So I've grabbed this off the shelf downstairs and put it into the basket, but I'm not sure which one they're going to want me to carry on with, if we want to finish this one first and then do this one, or if, because we're only a chapter in, we can ditch that one for the time being and do this one instead. And then I have my symposium folder, which just helps me keep organised. I don't know if you can see that. I've written on what I plan to do this week, and I'll just cross it all off. Basically, poetry or hadith alternating, grammar, math facts and map work. I've put those on a loop. I'm doing 2 each evening. Then reading from the Alexander Graham Bell book that I showed you, reading a picture book, reading one of the 2 chapter books. I haven't put that on there yet, which one, and then listening to Harry Potter. Inside I have some like a photocopy of the hadith that we're memorising. That's from the Content of Character. Copies of past poems we've memorised. These are the geography cards that come with the Good and the Beautiful language arts, some of the levels at least. And because we were memorising some of the placement of some of the countries in Europe, we've actually progressed on to, I've printed like blank maps of Europe basically, and I've printed off blank maps of Europe from Twinkle. I have a master copy here with the names of all the countries on for myself. My children are memorising where they go. Sometimes they use the globe or an atlas to cheat, particularly when it comes to Eastern Europe, because we just memorised the ones in sort of Western Europe. And then actually last night I printed off some blank maps of North America, because that's something we did last year. And so they filled that in yesterday, and they're pretty confident down to Mexico, but then there's quite a few countries around Central America that we don't know yet. And so again, I have a master copy here. Is there anything else in here? Oh, picture studies that have come out of the Good and the Beautiful language arts. And that's it. But this blank folder was £3.50 from the range. I have loads of these types of folder because they're really good for storing things in. Sometimes I store the kids' work in there, just like make a little portfolio of the year. That's a great thing to do as well with those. And the only other thing that's in here that I haven't shown you yet is this verse and poetry anthology. Previously, we've used the Ambleside online poetry books. But this year I wanted more of a range, and so I got these. They go from, it's the Lambda exams one, and so it's intended for children to take exams with, things that they can memorise for those exams. And it goes from entry level through grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and up to 8. I think the last 3 grades have UCAS points attached to them. But anyway, the verses and the poems in here get trickier as you go through. So we're just starting at the beginning and we're going through. But that is where we got our latest poem that we memorised from. And that was Aliens Stole My Underpants. Because I thought that'd be a funny one for the boys. So I haven't photocopied it and put it in my symposium folder like I usually do, because it's all in this book. So that's it for our homeschool space. As I'm sure you've observed, our homeschool space is basically our whole house, because when you home educate, it just takes over your whole house and your whole life, really, right? It becomes just part of your lifestyle, and I absolutely love that about home education. But that is why it is hard to just show you one space, because we've spread out and it sort of drifts into every part of our day, really. But I hope you've enjoyed that. If you do enjoy content like this, then please consider subscribing, and please give this video a like, share it with whoever you feel it would benefit, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, happy homeschooling. Bye.